morning, and welcome to another episode of the Lose Your Mind podcast. I'm Kelly, and I'm here today with Alan, and we are talking all things mindfulness. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you, Kelly. Very well indeed. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good today. We are going to be talking about non-striving this morning, I believe, if you're good with that.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's talk
And
about
how,
non-striving.
yes, and how to slow it all down.
Yeah, we'll slow it all down today for you so that you can relax and just listen to us.
Yeah, so when you think about non-striving, Alan, what comes to mind when you think about non-striving?
Well, my own opinion is it's about just not needing to do anything or be anywhere or think about having to be perfect in any way. We've chosen this one because it's a very difficult thing for new people to mindfulness to do, isn't it? Because there's a bit of a paradox, I think, with mindfulness and meditation. People come to it because they want to be something different or they want to feel something different. And the point behind this particular attitude is that, well, you shouldn't have to really. But it's a little bit of a paradox, isn't it? Because you're trying to get somewhere, but in reality, what we're saying is stay where you are and let life come to you. So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I really liked where you said there about not trying to be perfect, because I think when we come into this world, we're all quite mindful initially, aren't we? And then as time goes on, even as children at school, we're taught to do our best and to try harder. And then we go to work and we're taught to work harder and do more. So to actually non-strive and let things come to you, it can be quite a difficult thing to get your head around when you've spent years and years being told by parents and friends and teachers and colleagues and employers to do more, to strive. And life isn't all about that, is it? We need to slow down.
You're right. We're conditioned to it, aren't we? So we are naturally competitive, I guess, as a human race. And that has its own, that comes with its own problems. So we are constantly trying to get better because we think that means we'll have a better life. Okay. And it's not always the case, is it? So people strive to be the CEO of a major organization and end up having a breakdown because they can't cope with the stress. Well, that's not having a better life, is it? Equally, we're not saying that you should just sit on your backside and never go anywhere or do anything or help anybody, because that's not the way it is either. I think it's sort of somewhere in between, which is this attitude of, as you said, just allowing things to slow down, allowing things to settle down, and almost in a way, let life come to you. Because, we are all busy, aren't we? And it's part of what we need to achieve that makes us busy. But we don't stop to think about it. And we tend to fill our lives with things that don't matter and also things that aren't real. And it's, again, mindfulness is about coming back to yourself and who are you really and what do you really want to be or do?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a really difficult concept to get your head around, particularly in a work environment and actually with children amongst friends and just generally, because you do compare. It's natural for us to compare ourselves against others. But I've worked in an office environment and had quite a heavy office job, and I would let things take over. So I might have a stressful day and then something will come in and I just feel I need to get it done and it has to be done. But by having a bit of a step back and just looking at things for what they are, it does often give you that clarity and the answers do come to you and you're able to process it and move forward with ease.
So how do we help people in terms of, just slowing down that doing part of your mind into a being part of your mind? How do we help people do that? Because it's easy for us to sit here and talk about it. And then you and I will come off this conversation and we'll go to our to-do list and then we'll immediately start tick, 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 won't we, to get through it all. how do we help people achieve what they need to achieve without that sense of just having to be on the go all the time?
Well, I think it is about taking the pressure off yourself initially. And even if you have to keep coming back to it, I mean, even when we sit down to meditate and thoughts come into our mind, the aim is to train ourselves to keep coming back to the present moment. And if you get overwhelmed with something, it's natural to feel that you need to keep doing and keep going. And if you don't, you think, oh, well, I've lost time there, or I haven't done it. When am I going to fit it in otherwise? But actually, that takes you away from yourself anyway. And eventually people do reach burnout. So it can be a slow burn, I think. But I do think that people need to take a mindful approach generally and be a bit patient with it and give it time. And we've referred to John Kabat-Zinn during our podcast when we've been discussing the attitudes of mindfulness. And he says, when talking about non-striving, almost everything we do for a purpose, to get something or somewhere. But in meditation, the attitude can be a real obstacle. We are taught to be doers. Nothing is ever done, totally completed, or good enough. With the attitude of non-striving, we don't need to force a result. We can learn to see and accept things as they are right now from moment to moment. And I really think that is what it's all about, because we are taught to be doers. And we just don't need to force results all the time. Sometimes we just need to let things happen, but it's just accepting that that's okay to do. It's probably one of the hardest attitudes for a lot of people to try and contemplate, because we are conditioned in that way. And we don't, like you said again at the beginning, we do feel that to be right or to get things done, it has to be perfect or in a certain way. But what's perfect for you will be different to me, and that's okay. We can just do things in the way that we need to do them. And it's about accepting really who we are, isn't it? The whole process, I believe, is about tuning in.
Yeah, I like what you said about accepting. So, as we've said before, a lot of these attitudes overlap each other, don't they? It's almost like
Yeah.
a big Venn diagram, and you just that there are some that just overlapping circles. And the other thing is about what you said there about results. So we do focus on results. We're very goal orientated, which is why we get to strive in the first place, isn't it? But what we also forget is that we can only control the next moment, and then the moment after that, the one that we're actually in. And then when we do that, we start to enjoy the process of what we're doing rather than rushing to get to the end point. And I think that's the other thing is with non-striving is not only does it stop you from chasing perfection that you can't control, and you shouldn't always need it to be happy anyway, it means that you start to just roll through your moments and just enjoy them a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree. I recently got married and I practiced non-striving there actually. So quite often, and I imagine for many people, they may get caught up in, I need to be here at this time, I need to do this, or this should be happening now. But the whole day I was quite tired because I hadn't slept well the night before. But I just enjoyed each moment. I wasn't worried about what was to come because I couldn't change anything. And it just meant that I got more enjoyment out of the whole experience. So I do think, I mean, animals are a great teacher for us. And we know that with mindfulness, we look to nature, animals, and all things around us. And I think they teach us so much, don't they? Because they have the ability to shift their attention from doing to being in a split second by not striving in any way. And I don't know if you've heard the sitting still like a frog.
I
Um,
don't believe I have, but I'd like to.
yeah, it's a really great mindfulness book. And John Kabat-Zinn has also commented on it for children. And there are so many mindful exercises, and it refers that the frog has the ability to sit so very still, not striving in any way. But if it needs to get its food, it knows what it needs to do, but it's just happy to be present until that time comes. So it's just quite a good sort of metaphor there, really, isn't it? Just for
That's lovely.
non-striving.
Yeah, we don't sit still enough, do we? And
No.
do you ever, apart from sitting down to meditate, do you ever just sit still and do nothing? And how long can you do that for?
Well, I know what you mean. It's very difficult because you do get caught up thinking, what should I do? What should I be doing next? But we're obviously both teachers in mindfulness and meditation. So I would say now I do have moments where I do just sit there. And recently traveling in the car for a couple of hours, I take in the sky, all sorts of colors and all sorts when I'm in the car now. Whereas before I'd often go A to B, always just thinking about the destination and never enjoying that journey. And it is all about the journey, not the destination.
Quite
So
right.
I think, yeah, people need to really slow down and enjoy the journeys they're on, or too much is missed. And by all the different attitudes of mindfulness, I mean, we're obviously breaking them down to try and explain a bit more of why they're important. But the message is the same, isn't it? It's tuning in, getting in touch with where we are, and just experiencing and seeing what's around you. And then
Yeah.
naturally, you're able to, I mean, so many answers and things come to you when you do stop. And quite often you can't get that clarity when you're just trying to rush or wanting things to be, like you said, perfect. Because what is perfect?
Yeah, it doesn't exist, does it? And that
No.
favorite phrase of, don't let perfect get in the way of good. Very often that stops us moving forward because we're expecting perfection. And if you start out with, it won't be that in mind. Doesn't mean you can't strive for excellence either, but you do all the things. If you slow it down, then you do all the things in place that you need to with a much clearer mind, I think, about what good looks like, not what perfect looks like.
Yeah,
So
I think that's actually a really important message for anybody that's listening, actually. And you touched on it at the beginning when we started to have this discussion. But non-striving doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you don't want to get things done. And it doesn't mean that you haven't got aspirations and dreams. It doesn't mean that you're just stopping with nothing in your mind. It just means that you're simply giving yourself that space for things to naturally occur and give you the variety of thoughts that you possibly block by being so clouded with the what's to come all the time.
I think you've summed it up beautifully there, Kelly.
Oh,
So
thank
I
you.
hope you're welcome. I hope that that's given everybody listening a really good view of what non-striving is and what it means. And it doesn't mean giving up. It means calming yourself down so that you can go forward much more confidently. So thank you for listening. And we look forward to having you with us again for the next podcast.
We do. Thank you for taking the time out this morning, Alan.
Thank you, Kelly. Bye, everybody.
Bye.